The Jared Remy case raises a host of difficult questions, from how parents should handle a troubled adult child to whether Remy's father, Red Sox announcer Jerry Remy, should return to the broadcast booth. But perhaps the biggest question is why the criminal justice system went so easy on Jared Remy despite his history of violence. As the Boston Globe recently reported, Jared Remy was repeatedly in trouble with the law, but avoided serious consequences time and time again.
High-priced lawyers paid for by his parents helped Jared Remy avoid substantial jail time in 19 cases over a dozen years. That changed in August when the 35-year-old was charged in the stabbing death of his girlfriend, Jennifer Martell. He's now being held without bail as he awaits trial for murder. Remy's checkered past includes allegations of abuse against 5 women, one of whom says Remy began abusing her when she was 15 and pregnant with his first child. Time after time, Remy landed in court and judges either dismissed the case or sentenced him to probation, reportedly because the alleged victims wavered. A prosecutor in one of those cases remarked, "It's an old story. You get a high-priced attorney, you get better justice."
Peter Ellikin is a criminal defense attorney and spokesman for the Massachusetts Bar Association. Welcome to Greater Boston,
Good
Peter.
to be here, sir.
Do you agree that high-priced attorneys can get better justice than other attorneys?
It's not a matter of the price. It's actually whoever is the most talented attorney, and that is true. It is kind of scary, though, that somebody who, depending on what attorney you get, or even depending on how good the prosecutor is, as opposed to an untalented prosecutor, or even who the judge is, there's all these human factors in it that really do make all the difference in the world, one way or the other.
But looking at this case, do you think it's atypical of what happens in the criminal justice system in Massachusetts, or is it symptomatic of a larger problem where there appears to be too much leniency?
No, I think this one is the real extreme example, and this is like, and even remember, I'm a criminal defense attorney, and even I can't defend this absolutely reprehensible thing that happened. That was absolutely monstrous, and I can't believe that. I mean, I've come from a place where, yes, I believe people can get second chances, sometimes even more than third chances. But by the time you're up to 19 or 20 chances again and again and again, something was radically wrong here, and I think nobody can defend what went on here.
But aren't there some justices who, or some judges who are lenient in domestic violence cases?
And there are judges who are overly harsh too, and so it depends on who you get for a judge. There's this old saying they used to say, "Don't tell me what the law is, tell me who the judge is," and that will often affect exactly what goes on in the courtroom and the results. And these were just, but this kind of boggles the mind that there were so many instances. This wasn't one time that this guy suddenly got some kind of easy break. This is like a long, long history of it, and that's really what boggles my mind. That it was, it's almost like it's not funny, but it's almost like a comedy of errors again and again and again.
Let's bring in Wendy Murphy. She's a former prosecutor and author of "And Justice for Some," an expose of the lawyers and the judge who let dangerous criminals go free. Thanks for joining us, Wendy.
Sure.
What can be done to provide more justice for abused women and children and families who are caught in a cycle of abuse?
Yeah, well, it's a complicated answer, and, you know, it's not just a legal question with a legal answer. But first, let me disagree with Peter. I'm glad he acknowledges this is a case with no excuses or justifications, because it is so extraordinary. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, 2 bad things happened in this case over and over and over again. One is the son of a famous somebody showed up. And as much as I love Peter Bella, his lawyer, Peter's not such a great lawyer that's why he kept winning. It's that Jared Remy is the son of Jerry Remy, and Jerry Remy is a beloved somebody in this area. And it matters. Money matters, but who you are matters. Wealth, power, and influence matter. They just do. Whether it's the judge deferring because the judge is impressed, or the prosecutor with a wink and a nod is giving a deal because the prosecutor is going to count on that counting for votes at the next election, or just, you know, people being awestruck and allowing that kind of power to dictate an unfair result. You mix that together with the fact that we don't value women's lives in this country, but in particular in Massachusetts, where we have a very high domestic homicide rate, in part, in my opinion, and I write about this in my book, because we discount the punishments when we don't value the people who are injured, and women and children in particular, when their lives are either threatened or they die. The punishments of those perpetrators are always much lower than not only the deaths of other people, but crimes against stuff, property crimes. And it's a terrible problem. The solutions are varied. But in this case, simply more accountability for judges making extremely bad decisions would help. We have no real way of holding bad judges accountable. That's a systemic problem.
Wendy, Jerry Remy released a statement this week that says no parents are immune from trouble with their children. My wife and I did everything we could to provide Jared with the necessary professional help for any of his personal issues. Where's the line between family responsibility and the courts? Others have said they were shocked but not surprised. Peter, would you field that question?
Yeah. I think it's every parent's prerogative hanging there with your child for a long, long time. If I had a child who was going in the wrong direction, yes, I would do everything humanly possible. I'd see we'd try to deal with it in the family. I would get counseling, special schools, maybe inpatient, Medicaid, whatever there is. But at some point, though, I think I would feel bad about a situation like this where other people's lives are in danger. If I had done everything under the sun, hung in there a long, long time, longer than I should, at some point, though, I've got to be concerned about the danger, about the lives of other people. So you
got to cut the cord on a bad adult child. You got to cut the cord, number one. Number two, stop enabling this guy. It wasn't just Jared Remy going to court with a lawyer and getting a pass over and over again. It was often his family enabling him. For example, this most recent situation, why Jennifer Martell is dead, is reportedly his parents calling the victim and saying, please don't proceed with the charges because, that's not good for him. Well, really? Was it good for him? Now, he will never get out of jail for the rest of his life, and she's dead.
But
those
Wendy,
are enabler parents.
Aren't the court's hands tied when victims will not go to court?
No, they're
whether
not.
Or not it's
no, they are not. And I'm so glad you asked me that. First of all, the criminal justice system is not the victim's private lawsuit. If you are a witness to crime, even if it's your own violence, you have to testify when the government brings the charges. You can't show up and say, I don't feel like taking the stand, whether you're witnessing a bank robbery or your own abuse. You have to testify, because if we say to the victim, oh, we're going to let you choose to drop the charges, number one, you're actually giving the power to the batterer. And we know from the statistics that means his violence is going to repeat and increase in severity, and you're much more likely to be dead. You can't indulge this revolving door at the courthouse idea, because number one, it discounts the value of women's lives, because we don't let other victims of other kinds of crime choose not to testify. So the revolving door problem is a way of saying and messaging to these bad guys, we don't really care that you keep beating the hell out of women. We know she's likely to end up dead one day, but we'll take the risk.
Peter, do you think that this story or this case of Jerry Remy, or many cases of Jared Remy, I should say, calls for a second look at legislation that affects judges and their mandates and their guidelines?
No, I actually don't think so, because sooner or later there's going to be the humans are going to have to step in, and there's going to be some kind of call for that, for different people who come in different personalities, and you can write whatever laws you have. I mean, for example, it's very easy on the lower level to get a restraining order against somebody. They're kind of worthless. If somebody wants to kill you and you have a piece of paper that says they got to leave you alone, it's not going to do anything for you. But legislation like that, if people want to ignore the law, or even if there's all kinds of very tough, severe laws written, people are going to find these psychopaths, for lack of a better term, are going to find a reason.
Peter Ellikin, Wendy Murphy, thanks for joining us.